Thank you all so much for being here. We are really excited about the turnout. This is amazing. So thank you for taking out the time to join us tonight. I know it's going to be an excellent event. For those of you who I don't know, I'm Alexandra George. I'm the managing broker down at the Roaring Fork Club, and I sit on the committee, the Ypn committee. And this is our 5th event, and they've been going well, but they seem to be getting better each time, so we're really excited about that. And again, thank you for joining us. Let's see. I'd like to take a moment just to thank our sponsors tonight. John Sarpa, who you will be hearing from shortly, so generously donated this beautiful space.
Welcome. John's going to dance for you later.
No.
On the bar.
No, that's later. Much later.
This space, which is amazing, and we're some of the first people to get to enjoy it, which is really exciting. And First Western Trust and Steve and his team for supporting us. Thank you. All we'll get to hear from Steve later. If you don't know them, they're awesome. I can tell you, I've gotten to know them. They're amazing. They have a beautiful office on Mill Street behind the Jerome in that new building. So definitely take the time to get to know them.
At least Cullen is here too.
Yeah, and
At least Cullen with the First Western Trust.
Yeah, thanks, Elise. Thank you. All right. Quickly, we'd like to bring Peter Gorgon up here just to he has something quick he'd like to share with everyone.
Yeah, so real quick, and I'm Pete Gergen with East West. We had a conversational panel last time.
Yeah.
So last time over at the Timbers Club about fractional residences. There's some here. Talk to John about those.
Do we? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But then we also are getting ready to launch our residence club over at One Snowmass in Base Village. And so we have a stack of flyers. We should be going around and talking with all of your brokerages about it. But next Monday at 11 a.m. or 3 p.m., as well as next Thursday at 3 p.m., tours of the Residence Club, tours of the Collective, which is the new community building over in Snowmass off of the ice rink, and the game lounge there, all the amenities, and then also there's free food and drink provided by Moxie Bar and Mix 6, which is Martin Oswald's new restaurant that's in Snowmass. Martin runs
Pyramid
Bistro above Explorer Books in Aspen, and he's an amazing chef. And so come on out, it's fun, free food, free drink, and check it out. So thanks.
Thank you, Peter. And Peter, if you send over information, we'll put that on our Facebook page so y'all can find it there.
Perfect.
Awesome. All right, now without further ado, I'd like to take a second to introduce Mr. John Sarva. Many of you know John. John has been a major real estate figure in Aspen in the Roaring Fork Valley since 1985. John holds a law degree from George Washington University and has combined this education along with years of experience putting together real estate deals and sales to become a very notable and widely respected figure in the real estate industry. Originally, John came to the Valley as the head of development for what is today the St. Regis Hotel. Some of John's other notable projects include the Aspen Meadows, residences of the Little Mill, many luxury condos, single-family homes, and ranches in and around Aspen. And most recently, John serves as the co-developer and investor in the new W Aspen Hotel, which we get to enjoy tonight. John is a broker with Aspen Snowmass Sotheby's. In addition to this, he remains very active in the community, known for his integrity, people skills, hard work, getting things accomplished. John is recognized as a well-respected leader in the community. John lives with his wife of 38 years, Jan Jones Sarpa, a practicing psychotherapist, and they have one daughter, Emily.
Yeah.
Now, without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce John Sarpa.
Yes, thank you. Thank God she mentioned my wife, Jen.
That you have to live up to.
Yeah. Thank you all for coming. This is really exciting. When, you know, in our business, selling anything or building anything is a challenge. It just is, particularly the building part. And I've been at it for 35 years here. This project was by far the most interesting to me. It was the most fun. Also a pain in the neck. When you take something this complex and stick it in a residential neighborhood, or you know, neighbors over there about 50 feet away. So it had a lot of difficulties, lawsuits, everything, all the stuff you hear about. We had all that. Anyway, we got through in record time. This building only took 14 months to get approval from the city of Aspen, which is unheard of for something this big. So that was fast. We built it pretty fast. Took a little over 2 years to build it. It's about 130,000 square feet. There are 88 hotel rooms here. There are 11 residences. And you know, I think one of the reasons is it went well. You'll never find a hotel that'll go quicker for sure, not in the city. The Sky Hotel is a great place. People loved it. It's a fun place to be. We don't have a place like the Sky. And people wanted to replace it because it was run down. So that was a big deal. It's one reason why it got through quickly. So in commercial real estate, you're either up against something that people really don't want, or people want, for God's sakes, yes, let's get a replacement for that Sky. So that was a big part of our puzzle. The other one was working with the people around you. You read every day in our press. And sometimes I laugh when I read some, but anyway, read every day about how various developers do or don't work with the neighbors. I've always taken the approach, and as do my partners, you better work with the neighbors first, and then go talk to everybody else, the city and everybody else. But if you don't work with the neighbors first, it's a long journey here. And the neighbors have stopped a lot of things, sometimes appropriately, sometimes not. So anyway, one of the reasons you're sitting in this room was that while some of the neighbors were incorrigibly tough and they just wouldn't say yes to anything, and some even sued us, most of the people got it that what we wanted to do is A, be good neighbors. We got someone here, I don't know if Scott's left or not. Scott, did you leave? Yeah, look, he came and got a drink and left. Right. What's the deal with Blue Plow? I'm on film now. Anyway, most of our neighbors were very supportive at the end of the day. So that's a big thing about any commercial undertaking in terms of getting it done. Then you shift to, okay, once you get the thing built, what do you do then? And that's where the W comes in. Needless to say, at the base of Aspen Mountain, we kind of had our choice. Anybody we wanted, frankly, globally. Any operator is what I'm talking about. Who do you get to manage and operate the property? And that's an exciting part, challenging sometimes. But anyway, we had sometimes called a beauty contest. You can invite people and they tell you why they're going to be the best operator and all that good crap. I would say it came down to a few, and we talked to the Thompson, Ace, Standard. You can name all the boutiques. But it really came down to two at the end, the W and Kimpton. Kimpton was running the previous Sky Hotel. Kimpton's a great outfit. They know what they're doing. We like them. But it's the W people that we fell in love with. They get it. You're going to see more and more as this place comes online. Oh my God, do they know how to program fun? They know how to program value. That's important to us. The Sky was good value. You could go there, have a great time, not spend a fortune. You can spend a fortune here, but you don't have to. So those of you that want to, go ahead. But seriously, there's a nice combination of things that are affordable, reachable, attainable, if you will, and then you can go nuts if you want. So there's already a great vibe. Some of the W people are in this room, but the staff, you're going to see, they know what they're doing. Most of them have global experience. One of the fun things for me was to watch how they got trained. So a hotel has many different ways of opening up. This one brought in what they call wizards. They brought the best people from all over the globe who do the best housekeeping, the best doorman, the best front desk, the best concierge. And they stayed here 2 weeks training. It was fabulous to watch. It's the best of the best. Training the people who are going to be taking care of you as we go into the season. And it was great to watch the learning curve. Like that. they still have a lot to learn because they haven't been through a season yet. So I'll ask for some patience because it'll require that for sure. But everybody that you're going to meet, very dedicated to this. So real quick, I'm not even going to bother because I don't want to waste time. But that's a look at one of our residences. It's very different. That's a residence in this building. I'm happy to show you later, tomorrow, whatever. Then I'll get the heck out of the way. We have 11 residences in this building. A hotel doesn't work without residences. Nobody can build hotels anymore. Yeah, get the hell out of the way, Eddie. You got your own damn time coming. All right. I'll go back to this team. Anyway, so we have 11 3-bedrooms. That's actually a picture of a 3-bedroom living room. And you can tell, so the colors and the theme of this building are based on a couple things. Mining. So this pattern comes out of the mines. Literally, you can go into Smuggler and you see a lot of this. And a lot of the woodwork you'll see is all based on the mines. So the mining theme's a big deal throughout the hotel. So we have that in each of the residential units. Very open kitchen. Colors, so we used a lot of the colors from the 60s and 70s. The Benton thing, the Benton posters, those who've been around. By the way, that young part of your thing, I don't know what the hell I'm doing here, but there's some other people that don't belong in here. That's a good thing that you're very open about that. So we wanted something different, fresh. You know, Aspen has a lot of the same look, frankly, and I've developed a lot of that same look. Going that way, the residents will know. St. Regis, they're great properties. But this, very different. It has a very different market. It's not for everybody. I'll tell you, the people who have bought and stayed already they're loving it. Its proximity. They can go downstairs or upstairs and have a great time. So anyway, we have 11 of these, 6 3-bedrooms, 5 2-bedrooms. The 3 is about a little over 2,000 square feet. That's as big as you can be in the core anymore. And the 2-bedrooms are about 1,700 square feet. We've sold about 40% of the total inventory, and it's sold in 5-week shares. So it's a fractional, just like the residence will know, in terms of how it's sold and how it's utilized. So when you buy 1 share, you buy 5 weeks. You get 2 weeks in summer, 2 weeks in the winter, and then you can pick the 5th week. You can either pick a summer or you pick a winter. And once you pick that, then you have 3 weeks in either of those two. We've sold a bunch of multiple units. We've got one guy's buying about 5, another guy's looking at 10 right now. That just gives them greater flexibility in how much and how they use it. So from the fractional side, so we've got a great sales team. Aaron McGuire is heading that up for us. And all you got to do is walk in here some afternoon, starting like next week, and we're here every day on site. So if you want to bring clients in or have a look at the place, please do. We have a wonderful. If you haven't been upstairs yet, how many people have been upstairs on the top of the roof? Okay, look, not even half. You gotta, listen, this place is, the living room itself is going to be a great fun place to be, but I would also say that the top, let me see if I can do it this way, yeah. These are shots of the roof. The pool. It's 8,000 square feet, open to the public. Don't have to be staying here to go there. That was another big deal. This is public. There's the only private place here. There is a private resident deck over there just for the owners. It's about 2,500 square feet. But everything else is public. All the cabanas, everything else, it's all open to the public. And let's see. Just different shots. Those are shots of the second floor I was talking to you about. Gives you an idea. There's a lot of fun art in this place. We thought a lot about the art. We brought an artist he's actually from Baltimore. That thing that as you walk in is the DJ booth, and it's the Silver Nugget. We all know about, came out of Smuggler. So there's a big mining theme. The carpet is based on topos. Those are actual topos of this area, looking down. This gold thing right here is the James Bond gold lady that swam through the water. Yeah, there's a lot of creative stuff here. The blues you see, everybody says, well, what's with the blue? Well, that's Herbert Bayer blue. So that guy in the lobby, that's actually Walter Petke, the guy who in the 40s made this place come to life. So there's a lot of history that ties this place to Aspen, which was important to us. So For me, it's been the most fun to make sure it belongs here. The outside is a modern chalet, but it looks like it belongs in Aspen. It doesn't look like it belongs on a beach someplace. Some people have called our colors a little too much, and I get that. It's not for everybody. But you know, we have a lot of wood. Look at all those hand-done woods everywhere. You walk around, and all the furniture sitting, it's all custom. There's almost, unfortunately, nothing off the shelf. It's all custom built. But it makes it fun. It makes it more interesting. We have great bunk rooms. We got bunk rooms that you can put 8 people in one room. They're queen-size bunks. I don't remember if you guys know. So anyway, there's a lot of different components about this. Not the same old thing, I should say. There probably won't be many other hotels at the base of the mountain. I think it'll get done over in 1A. That'll happen. Gorsuch and the Browns are going to figure out how to make that come together over there. I have confidence in them, even though they sometimes seem to have their own differences. I spent a lot of time on that street over there. I tried for 10 years to build it. It would have been the only Ferragamo hotel in the United States. That's what I wanted to do over there, and that got turned down. That's all right. You can't be in my business and not fail if you're putting yourself out there. If you're not putting yourself out there, you might not fail. But if you're really taking a risk, creating something different, unique, you're going to fall on your face once in a while. I fell on my face in that for sure. That was almost 10 years of work that went down. 10 years. And a boatload of millions of dollars. But that happens. So that's commercial real estate in a nutshell at the hotel level around here. And that's it. I think I've done okay in that. Who's next? Who's next?
Well, does anyone have any questions?
John, can you talk about pricing on the 2 and 3 bedroom units and?
Yep. So the 2-bedroom unit start was at $551. We're about to raise prices, like you mentioned. That's probably going to go up about 5%. I would say both. We were at $797. We've already raised the prices on the 3s. The 3s we've sold about 60% of the 3s and about 30% of the 2s.
Those are closed?
Yes, these are closed numbers. Yep. So, and the 3s were $797. That's going to go up about 5% soon too. So we're really excited about that, to be able to raise prices. I mean, obviously we just opened, so to be almost 40% sold before you open is okay. We're really happy with that. And by the way, when people walk into this, again, it's not for everybody, but most people walk in and go, wow, that's different. Love it. They love the openness, they love the colors. Again, it's all custom furniture. There's nothing inexpensive in this place. It's great kitchens. So anyway, that's what it is. 5 weeks. If you got clients, let myself or Aaron McGuire know. I'm happy to walk you through and show you what's going on.
Is that about $3,500 a foot on a sellout?
It'll be a little over, and sellout, it's not bad for an older guy. And 3,300 is about where it'll be average, so call it a little over 3,000 foot, which compares to the residence Louisville is over about 4,500 a foot right now on the share of the fraction. Anybody else? And I'll get out of here and let other people go. Thanks for coming, everybody. Enjoy yourself.
Thank you, John, and thank you again for having us.
Of course, my pleasure.
All right. Next up, it's an honor to introduce Mr. Ed Foran. If you don't know Ed, I encourage you to introduce yourself. Ed is awesome, and we were so thrilled when he agreed to moderate this conversation. Ed has been a member of the Aspen Board of Realtors for 26 years, first arriving in Aspen in the Valley in 1993, where he specialized in commercial real estate with the Fleischer Company. Ed is a past president of the Aspen Board of Realtors. He's been Realtor of the Year and has served on many nonprofit boards, including the Aspen Community Theater, the Animal Shelter, ACRA, the Aspen Nordic Council, and the Aspen Chapel. He is the managing broker of Douglas Elliman Real Estate, and tonight he is our very special moderator. Ed, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Alex. It's an honor to be here speaking to the future of Aspen real estate as I look out across this room. It's really exciting. I was telling Leah Moriarty earlier, I said, I don't recognize anybody. We've all gotten old and there's all this new youth, infusion of youth, and it's really exciting. And we didn't have YPN when I came here 27 years ago. And this is a great, congratulations on putting this together. I think it's really wonderful way to network and also give an opportunity for us more seasoned brokers to share our experience, our wisdom, and pitfalls to help you guys do a better job in your business. So I am honored to speak and moderate with this panel of distinguished real estate experts, and so hopefully tonight we will give you some information that will help you learn about commercial real estate in Aspen. I would say that Aspen commercial real estate is probably the most difficult market to navigate in the United States. It is incredibly complex, incredibly expensive, and it takes a real professional to sort of navigate the challenges, whether it's dealing with national retailers, international retailers, the landlords in this town, the contractors when it comes to building out space. So these guys that are here tonight, Steve Seyffert, Lex Tarumianz, and Angi Wang, have been in the trenches for years and really have been quite successful. So I'm excited to ask them some questions that hopefully you guys will find interesting and helpful. Why don't you guys come on, sit down, and I'm going to introduce everybody by reading a short bio. Start with Steve. Steve Seyffert is the Senior Vice President and Banker with First Western Trust Bank, a lifelong resident of Aspen and a graduate of State University of New York at Plattsburgh. Steve's expertise stems from his decades of experience as a successful hospitality management company owner and manager, an investor in commercial real estate, as well as private banker providing strategic advice designed to complement a wealth management client's financial objectives with creative financing solutions. Steve estimates he has originated $200 million in loans for his clients. The majority of those loans have been on complex commercial real estate transactions here and around the country. Angi is a broker associate with Setterfield Bright Real Estate. Angi was born in Taiwan and came to the United States at the age of 8. And a little known fact is that Angi speaks Mandarin. So if you ever need a translator, here she is. Prior to working in real estate, Angi was regional marketing manager for national firms where she specialized in brand planning and promotions. She has over 15 years of real estate experience. Angi was selected to serve on the Commercial Core and Lodging Commission, which promotes vitality and success of Aspen's downtown core for business owners, locals, and visitors. CCLC acts as liaison between City Council, city staff, business owners, and managers. Angi has leased over 200 retail and office spaces in Aspen. Recently, Angi has brokered over 10 food and beverage restaurant transactions. Lex Tarumianz, Aspen resident since 1995. Lex is with Aspen Snowmass Sotheby's. He's been an active commercial real estate broker for the last 9 years. He was awarded a CFA, Chartered Financial Analyst designation in 2011. Prior to joining Sotheby's, Lex was vice president with U.S. Bank Corp in Aspen, assisting the bank in roles of commercial banking relationship manager and later as portfolio manager in the trust and asset management division. Lex has also run Pyramid Property Advisors in Aspen since 2011, a firm specializing in the management of commercial property. Lex has also been actively involved in some large transactions that have happened here in Aspen, including the sale of the Vogue Plaza building or Paradise Bakery for $18 million, the Aspen Core penthouse for $25 million, Muse penthouse for $16 million, and Willoughby Way home for $30 million. So welcome, you guys. Great to have you here. So, thanks again to our sponsor, Steve, for food and beverage, and John, of course, we really, really appreciate it. I'd like you guys to just talk a little bit about what are some of the trends you are seeing in recent years happening in commercial real estate here in Aspen in terms of, for Steve, from Steve's perspective, commercial real estate financing, from the leasing and sales perspective, what kind of leases are we seeing? Pop-ups versus long-term leases, types of leases, who is leasing, retail, office? Angie, you want to start?
We're doing retail and office leases, and there's so many questions. Which one do you want to start with?
Take your pick.
The trends. I think the Aspen market's been slow and steady, and we've seen increases in rents and increases in CAMs and taxes, and people still want to be here, so we do fill the spaces. And I feel like all the major national brands all want to have a billboard here.
Could you talk a little bit, we're seeing a lot more pop-ups in our market. Lex, can you talk a little bit, just give us a distinction. What is the difference between a pop-up and a long-term lease?
So I think, to Angie's point, there is a lot of lease activity going on right now in the market. We have a different supply scenario in the market. Since 2012, or even just prior to that, there's been a lot of investment, unprecedented investment in the commercial core. So there are a lot more new buildings, Class A spaces, more sophisticated landlord groups. With that, they're all vying for the same pool of tenants, essentially. And with that, that pool of tenants has not grown substantially, but our supply has grown. So landlords are having to be more flexible at this point. They'd much rather have a 5 or 7 or 10-year lease, but they are working with tenants to bring them here, let them test the market. So a pop-up lease would be anywhere from 1 month. We'll see some 1 month leases, unfortunately.
Prefer not to.
Yeah, we don't like those, but landlords are willing to give tenants a chance to test the market, test a space or a location in the market, and it's not a great long-term viable business, but with a lot of new product, commercial inventory, I think landlords have been forced to do that.
So with some of these pop-ups that are coming in, tenants might sign a 3-month lease, but they'll take on the responsibility of building out the space for that 3-month period, and which is substantial. I mean, give me an example of what it would cost to build out a 1,500 square foot retail space, luxury retail space. Everybody's different.
For about 1,500 square feet. I mean, you can do a very light build out, and it also depends on the space that they're taking over. If it's already built out, it's a vanilla shell, it's easier for them to come in and plug and play, versus a space that needs a lot of work. If they have to change out the floors, the ceiling, a new lighting plan, additional cabinetry that has to come in, and a lot of the luxury stores have custom millwork that gets done and shipped in from elsewhere, and then they install it after it arrives. So it can run anywhere from as little as $20,000 investment to $250,000, $500,000, and just that, to me, economics doesn't make sense to do a pop-up, but they're doing it.
Mm-hmm. Steve, what are your thoughts on, and you've been here for a long time, seen our commercial market change, seen a lot of these national retailers, AAA credit, coming into our market. What are your thoughts? Are they coming to the bank looking for financing, or are they doing their financing elsewhere? Is it locally owned businesses that are doing their financing with you?
So certainly from international retailers that are looking to come to Aspen, we tend to not see them coming to the local banks to do much of anything. They may open an account to help with deposits and cash transactions, or making sure that they've got cash on hand. But a national retailer typically has a banking relationship, or they may work with one of the few local national banks, Wells Fargo, US Bank, and such. They're typically very self-funded. They're not looking for loans, and they're deploying their capital here into our market, which is great. But on the other side, it's not keeping it local.
You guys have been in the business since before the recession. How has the commercial real estate market changed from your point of view from, say, 2007, 2008 till today?
I think, to kind of go back to the comment that in 2012 we saw unprecedented, if you pull the MLS data for 2004 to 2019 on closed transactions for commercial real estate, there's some years pre-recession that $7 million or $4 million of property traded hands and was recorded in the MLS. In 2012, it was 70 million, which is really a high watermark. There are a couple of years since then where there were some transactions. The Aspen Core building next to the Benton building sold for 28 million. That was not in the recorded transactions in the MLS. So there have been some years that have been topping out at about 80 million. So it's a different dynamic now. I think that as we came out of the recession, there's more sophisticated capital out there looking. We saw Thor Equities come into the market. We saw Mark Hunt come into the market, the group from Dallas that bought the Aspen Core building. They've all come in to the market, so you've gone to even more of a consolidation probably in property owners. A lot of these one-off people that might have owned one building that they've owned since the 60s or 70s, they capitalized on money coming into town and sold those buildings. And when you're buying property here at all-time high pricing, you've got to redevelop it or rehab it, and you've got to lease it at extremely higher rates. I mean, there's still a lot that, the story's really probably in the first chapter still on how this is all going to play out. Because we're going to see, if you kind of did a Google Street View of Aspen in the year 2000, and you fast forward 5 years from now after a lot of the stuff that's in the approval queue with the city gets built, it's going to be a totally different looking town. And I think that's overall for a real estate market. I think that our downtown core is a great asset for us and as brokers, and I think we want to be talking positively out there with our clients as to what's going on. I mean, there's a lot of great stuff, whether it's the redevelopment of this Sky Hotel or this hotel here into a new hotel, or the Crystal Palace project. There's a lot of great things going on. There's a lot of money being invested, and I think it's hitting the mark with the clientele that is coming here that we, or as a group, are trying to sell real estate to.
Steve, you were in the thick of it in the recession, where it was pretty ugly out there from the banking perspective. How have things changed since then for you guys? What are you seeing? What are the differences, challenges you face?
In commercial real estate financing, Aspen's got a unique history. You could go back to the 1950s, 60s, and even the 70s, and you know who was financing commercial real estate? The local ranchers. They were the ones that had money. The banks, because virtually all the banks in those early days, they had a handful of deposits. Frankly, there wasn't a lot of cash in this town, and so they didn't have a whole lot of capital to deploy for commercial real estate. You can look at some of the oldest buildings in this town, or I shouldn't say the oldest, I'll say the mid-old buildings. They were built in the 50s, 60s, 70s. Those are the ones that are nondescript. They probably have short ceilings, and they are not our most appealing buildings. And they were built based on financing from ranchers. and there just wasn't a whole lot of economic vibe. But somebody that was willing to roll the dice and go to a rancher and say, I need $100,000 to build this building that I think is going to be great. The rancher charged them an appropriate, relatively high interest rate, and they built those buildings. Came the 80s and the 90s. 80s was still tough lending, high interest rates. In the 90s, things eased up a little bit, and national banks had much more of a foothold in the presence, but they still basically was local lending, whether it was truly local banks or regional banks or national banks. They were lending within their footprints, and so some lending was certainly happening. Things are really, really different these days, where there are 10 local lending institutions here, certainly some of the bigs, and all the way down to the relatively small regional banks. But there's 10 that have bricks and mortar here. I think every one of the 10 banks would love to do some commercial real estate lending here, but the lending, as Lex was touching on, and because these property owners are from elsewhere, I bet that most of the local commercial real estate lending doesn't originate here for the true commercial real estate properties. So local banks are lending on investment properties or, mortgages and you name it. I think the key from lending is the big picture that everybody in the lending world is dealing with is it's tough. You can get deals done if you've got the right borrowers, and depth and resources tends to be something that everybody is looking for. Or you've got just this great building, a great asset with long-term tenants, and it looks really good and really strong from the get-go. What that simply means is banks like long-term leases, banks like stable tenants. They like to see that there's significant cash flow coming out of transactions, and certainly good loans to value, and it's a pretty clean project. But that almost never happens because there's always complexities and there's always challenges in lending. And if you ever get a clean deal, my gosh, be proud of it.
Great, thank you. Angie and Lex, for those of us in the room here that have never done a commercial deal before, can you talk a little bit about the complexities and differences between brokering a commercial sale or lease versus a residential sale or lease? I think that'd be really helpful for people to understand that it's almost like a completely different business in many ways, and requires wearing a lot of different hats. So Angie, what do you think about that? Share with.
I think you need to understand the economics of the commercial market here. The commercial market, you have to get familiar with the commercial market, what people are looking for, how many spaces are available, what is available. So it's educating yourself on the market, understanding a commercial lease, understanding what NOIs are, what estoppels are if you're doing a sale. What are the things like people that...
Well, I think one thing a lot of people don't realize is that it's kind of your basic standard commercial lease in Aspen. There's really no standard commercial lease because every landlord has a different lease. But it can go up to 80 pages in length, single space, 7-point font.
Legal.
Legal. It's not a residential lease. It's not like a short-term rental lease.
It's very complicated.
And you also you have to you're usually dealing with the tenant is a national retailer. They're often represented by a big national brokerage, quite sophisticated, a very strong legal team, and what else do you have to add to that, Lex?
I think it'd be interesting to know how many of you out here have done a commercial lease deal or a commercial sale deal. Good. I think that they are different. They are more challenging. I think there are things that all of us in the room, by having a better understanding of commercial real estate, would lend favorably to your current business in residential real estate. Just being able to, if from a lease perspective, understanding triple net expenses and being able to talk about what a triple net
Or cams are.
cams or triple nets and how those relate to the lease rate, being able to calculate your price on a square foot basis. As we work in this market, we're working with more and more sophisticated people. It's an asset for you all if you take some continuing education, get to know some commercial brokers up and down the valley, and just be able to talk through. Because if you're out showing property, I think it's a real asset to be able to talk through. If you've got a sophisticated person whether they're from the Midwest or from California, you're showing them homes, but they ask you about the commercial market, and you can tell them, even give them a 30,000 foot view of what's happening, and be able to talk about sales and talk about where things are leasing, who's coming to town, all those things. It'll be a great asset for you. I know it's really helped me in my career here. We've got there's commercial property up and down the valley. We've focused for a long time on what you would call high street retail, which is our downtown central core of Aspen. But many of you saw that there was a mobile home park that was listed in Basalt just about 3 weeks ago. Did anyone put an offer in on that, or have clients that put in offers on that? I think there were 8 offers on that property, multiple at or above list price. And I think it just, there's a lot of capital looking in this market, and when I'm talking about this market, I'm talking from Glenwood and even just outside of Glenwood, all the way up to the downtown core of Aspen. But several mobile home parks have traded up and down the valley recently. Apartment buildings have traded at very strong prices. One apartment building down on Garfield Avenue in Carbondale sold twice in a 12-month period because the people bought it in a portfolio or a group of properties. They didn't want the apartment deal. They put it out on the market. It sold for another they made $800,000 or $1 million in a matter of months on it. So I think it's just, not to go on forever here, but commercial real estate it's a technical business, but so is selling a ranch I think the more well-rounded you can be as a real estate professional, especially in a market like this, the better off you're going to be, and the better, you're going to represent your clients better, and you're going to come across as a better broker.
Steve, what's kind of the main difference between underwriting a residential loan versus a commercial loan? What are you going to be looking for from the borrower?
So let me ask for a little audience participation, and so I'll ask, what do you think is more important in the commercial real estate lending world? And that is loan to value, or the question will be cash flow. So what's more important, loan to value, if you think it is? That's amazing. So everybody else thinks it's cash flow. Years ago, I'll say 15, 20 years ago, everybody who was in the commercial real estate business would go to every single banker and say, my loan to value, my loan to value, my loan to value, or I want to buy this, the loan to value will be this. So everybody here gets the critical importance of cash flow. Cash flow makes a deal or kills a deal. Now, you can potentially buy down with huge amounts of equity, in other words, putting a big percentage of your cash to make the cash flow on a loan work. That's one way of dealing with it. I'm sure Lex and Andy, you've both seen people put massive percentages of cash just to get a bank to say, okay, now I can get the debt service coverage ratio, or debt yield coverage to fit the lending parameters. But it's just so critical that cash flow is part of everybody's language. And ironically, that's what's most important from a residential, a fractional loan. John's knows that there's a few lenders out there that are willing to do fractional loans, but if you're trying to buy a unit here at the W, the borrower, he's going to qualify on his cash flow, and you've probably heard debt to income ratios. If they work, the bank is going to most likely going to do it. There's lots of other little things that become critical, or they become big things that are all secondary to cash flow. And it can be, is it in a flood zone, or is there a potential environmental issue? You may think that everything looks clean and all around it, but the environmental reporting agencies for the states and the county, can trip up a deal, and here comes an environmental review that flags a problem, and those can delay closings and sales for months and months on end. That they creep into the equations. So lots of things that make commercial real estate buying and lending challenging.
Yeah. Angie, we've been seeing a lot on the news the last few years, ever since Amazon came into the picture, of online retail versus bricks and mortar retail, and how that is going to impact retail moving forward in the future. And it changes constantly. And this year, I guess online shopping is already off the charts. Are you seeing any impact in Aspen on the Aspen retail, Aspen retailers from online shopping?
Well, there's always going to be impact. The e-commerce is growing, things are changing, and I think we just need to be able to grow with the times. Remember when the stores were all only taking cash, and then when everybody went to merchant services, you had to learn to change with the times to make business work. I think that no matter how much e-commerce increases and grows, we're still going to need brick and mortars. And now I think it's starting to turn the other way. The e-commerce stores are now looking for offline stores in different markets. So they do their data collection, their analytics, they look at who is buying from them online. And in those markets, they open pop-up stores to try out the market. If it works, then they open a permanent store. So it's starting to go the other way, the trend.
And I'll add, what I've seen on the lending side is if somebody owns a nice strip center that used to be exclusively filled by retail tenants, the owners of those strip centers, retail complexes, have to be way creative these days in terms of who is going to occupy that space. We're certainly seeing veterinarians in spaces that we wouldn't have seen years ago. We're seeing mortgage lenders, we're seeing tax services, we're seeing people that again, you wouldn't necessarily have expected to be in these spaces years ago, but they are, in part because it's affordable. It may be more affordable than an office complex, and there's accessibility of ease of parking in and out, and it's helpful sometimes to the centers. We're certainly seeing restaurants in places that we've not seen historically in retail strip centers.
We're all familiar with our luxury retailers in town, like Ralph Lauren and Dior and Brette and Gucci, and everybody's always bemoaning the fact there's no locally owned businesses, and they're all struggling and they can't make it. But when in fact it's actually not the case. And could you share some of the businesses, just run off a list in the top of your head that have been in business, they're locally owned and are quite successful in Aspen?
You have Picken County Dry Goods, you have Performance Ski, you have Hamilton Sports,
Miller Sports,
Miller Sports,
New Wash.
Meridian Jewelers, that locally owned. I would say that, Aspen is a competitive place, whether you're selling real estate or you're in retail or you're trying to ski fast, whatever it is, there are people out there that are trying to do it better than you. And just based on that, and the people that are coming here are discerning type people. And, so someone like Performance Ski, they deliver an amazing product in a space that she spent a ton of money on. And they're a locally owned business, and they cater to, locals and a lot of visitors and second homeowners, and very successful. And Pickens County Dry Goods has done the same type of thing. But it's an expensive place to do business and a competitive place to do business. And, there's a lot of back and forth. There was some backlash against formula retail or chain stores, luxury stores. I think us as a real estate community, when you don't have that in your downtown, if not to disparage Rifle, Colorado, but if you go down to Rifle, you've got the pawn shop, the tattoo parlor, and it's just a different dynamic. And we need a base of high-end retail here just to stabilize our downtown, because you can go online and buy a lot of the necessities that you would want to buy. It's just easy to do now, so there's a void there of space for that.
Ed,
Yeah.
at one time there was a discussion about, I can't remember I don't know what the terminology is, the second floor, the back alley.
Second tier.
Second tier for the startup, the still locally owned, whether it's a shoe repair or the mom and pop thing. Is there still a discussion about that?
The city council is very pro second tier businesses. We're still trying to figure out a way to make that happen economically.
Is it practical in your view? Can it happen?
A lot of things have to happen before that can happen. And we started with, being on the CCLC, we started with cleaning up the alleyways. Because, and we started with one big cleanup, but maintaining it, I don't know how well that's gonna work. In the wintertime, it's challenging because they can't seem to plow the alleyways. It's precarious to walk back there. I would not encourage someone to open a business in an alleyway that you can't get through without hurting yourself. So there's a lot of challenges to that. I think we're gonna, over time, it'll probably be, 8 to 10 years from now, we'll have some second tier businesses in the alley.
It's the economics too. It's so damn difficult to build in this town. It's so damn expensive that by the time you get through the whole process and building the building or remodeling existing commercial building, you can't afford to give the space away.
Do the high-end retailers make money? Our common perception is it's just an address in order to have.
I think you got the experts who can answer
I
that.
think the majority of them make money.
Yeah, I don't think they would in today's current world. I don't think they're gonna stay here if they're not making money. They're publicly traded companies with sophisticated, CFOs and finance departments, and to sit here and just bleed money, year after year doesn't make sense. And I think you can see if you track the downtown core and you see who comes and then who ends up leaving. It's an indication that they're either not making money or they're not making money to their pro forma. Yeah,
I think it's been a common misperception that some of these classic ultra high-end brands are here to be here for marketing. They write off the losses to marketing. I've never bought that, and I very much agree that sophisticated companies like that, doesn't matter if Aspen is on the address. Sure, it's nice to have it, but they want to see a bottom line profit. Otherwise, they pack out.
We've been talking a lot about leasing, but in the last 26 years that I've been here, there's been just some mind-numbing commercial sales that make absolutely no sense and defy logic. And so And so, in many of these cases, some of these, it's not hard to look at it, at the deal and see that they're not going to cash flow for some of these for as long as a decade. And so, like, I look at the Boogie sale. That was, what, 27 million, sat empty, a few pop-ups, a little bit of income, maybe enough to pay the utilities and the taxes. They knock it down, they're gonna have another, what, Lex, how much are they gonna have into it?
Probably 10. Plus affordable housing. I mean, they're gonna be in for 40.
They're gonna be in for 40. So that $40 million investment, how long before that thing, it's gotta get rented, you gotta get the AAA rents for that space before it's gonna start cash flow.
Well, on a $2 million rent roll, you're at 5 cap.
On a $2 million rent, okay. So there you go. How doable is that?
I'd say, is anyone from Thor in the room? or any press people in the room? It's probably going to take a while. I think there's a lot of patient money here, though. And I'll turn it, if Angie wants. But I think there's a lot of patient money.
They'll be dead by the time it starts getting. Yeah.
But that's also why they're asking $300 a square foot.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else is getting that.
Good question. Are they getting that?
I don't think they are.
Time will tell.
Rumor is that they're giving away the top floor just to activate the space for free leases for a number of years. And I know that they were doing that in Snowmass Village too.
That is
certain small
not
areas just to activate.
If
That
it
is
sounds,
a rumor.
So
if
there
it
you
sounds
go.
too good to believe,
Give away
don't
the
believe
top
it.
floor, no rent for several
Colorado was
years.
in for free, right?
It doesn't really.
These guys are not giving anything away for free. I know that for a fact.
I think did they overpay for it?
Yes.
Did they buy one of the very best corners in town?
Yes.
And I don't know the backstory that well, but if the capital behind it, the equity is, multi-generational, kind of family wealth, which I think it is. Even if you have to suffer along at a 4% return, for 15, 20 years, your great-grandkids or your grandkids will have a phenomenal asset that, will be just a list of assets that they own at some point.
It's quite, suffer along at a 4% or suffer along at a negative 2% return. I just don't see how the numbers work. And some of the redevelopment deals that we've seen happen, and I don't want to get into details, but they've gone through the entitlement process, bought at a premium, not even zero cap rate, whatever, and then they go through the entitlement process. Some of those are still have not broken ground and are not generating income, and so it defies logic to me that whatever investor, I don't know investors that are willing to just throw money at a deal and not expect a return, at least within a few years. And I know everybody's probably had clients call them up and say, hey, is there a little apartment building you can sell me for like a 10% return? It hasn't existed for a very long time.
There are 8 marijuana stores in town, so maybe that has something
10.
to.
There's 10. There's one more coming, 11. Not that we need 11 of them here.
So, some closing thoughts here, and then if we have time, Alex, maybe a few questions. I think what YPN is doing is really, really fantastic, and it's, I think part of your mission is to, educate and mentor, people who are new to the business, so, that we can all do a better job serving our clients, our landlords, and really represent the real estate industry professionally. And I'd just like you guys to share your thoughts on what advice or words of wisdom can you share with us that will help and us do a better job for our clients and reflect positively. And so if you guys wouldn't mind, based on your experience and what you've seen out there in the brokerage community, people who try to dabble in commercial real estate, and you guys really you guys just started not knowing that much, really banking background, and Angie, you had a marketing background and great work ethic, and you got mentored by Karen and came into the business. So share with some words of wisdom for the kids out here, or the future of this.
The kids and the
Includes you guys.
I was lucky enough to work under Karen Setterfield when I came into the world of real estate, and I didn't think that I wanted to do commercial real estate actually, but I happened to be naturally good at numbers. Gee, I wonder why. And I'm also good, and I'm good with spreadsheets, and those are part of the whole real estate transaction. You have to be able to prove to people that whatever they're investing in makes sense, unless it's Mark Hunt. And Karen's been doing commercial real estate in the Aspen commercial core and only does commercial real estate for the last 30 plus years here. So I've been very lucky to learn from the best of the best, and it's really helped. And I enjoy commercial, even though it's very challenging. You work a lot harder for the dollar, but it's a good reprieve from the residential because I do both, and you don't have to deal with it's not as much drama. There's not as much emotion invested in the deal. It's either gonna work or it's not. The space is big enough or it isn't. It's in the right location or it's not. And the economics work or it doesn't. So they either do the deal or they don't. It's very simple. You don't have grandma coming along, I don't like this yard, it's not big enough for my dog, So it's more simple to me in my head to do. So I'm lucky to have been doing this for over a decade, I hate to say. So I started when I was, 16?
You still count as one of the youngsters.
Thanks.
Lex?
Well, I think I go back to this is a great tool in your toolkit if you get a good foundation in commercial real estate, even if it's something you're not doing a lot of. Being able to your clients want to know what's going on in commercial real estate. It's a pretty fascinating market for that, and the more you can know about it, and there's some good continuing education out there. Just being able to model out a commercial investment deal will help you if you've got people that are coming to town and say, listen, we want to buy this Fifth Avenue condo, and what's the rental return look like? And if you can put together a more sophisticated looking financial model for your client, you're gonna be more highly respected by them, and you're gonna carry more credibility. So I think that's, there are people just about in all of the firms within the valley that someone's doing some commercial transactions. And, I think just like in residential, pick their brain, ask them about a recent transaction or a recent listing that they have, and try and start gleaning some information, because it will make you a more powerful, it'll be a powerful and transformative thing, I think, for your business if you can get some of that, some commercial real estate acumen.
Steve, I know you're gonna say, if you're smart, just come and see you for all your financing needs.
In the bank financial world, our business is really focused on working with clients in the wealth category. And in the wealth category, we're doing everything we can for our clients to help them achieve their goals, investing, maybe it's in the market, making sure that they've got the right levels of insurance. And if they're looking for real estate investments, or if they're looking for a second home, we are our clients' resource to bounce ideas off of. I can tell you I've done very, very, very complex deals and transactions that took every ounce of brain power that I had and 6 other people to pull it all together. We've talked, Angie talks about the potential easy aspects. I've had clients where I've had to talk them off of the ledge from jumping, you know, because they were just at wit's end with complex situations. But I think the key is every bank is going to be a resource, and I think it's critically important to work with people who are smart, savvy, not just focused on the deal. Think of creative solutions to get deals done. And that can be 2, 3, 4, 5 different ways to get a deal done. And you may think that, oh, this is the easiest way to get the deal done. And I may think that this is the easiest way to get a deal done. But it's all about what's most important to the client and listening to them, listening to what their needs are, and again, being creative. I think it's hugely important to have creative financial people behind every deal and every transaction.
Alex, do we have time for a couple questions, or we run too long?
I think we have time for 1 or 2.
Okay. Any questions? Yes. What's your
Yeah,
name?
so this just goes back. I'm Chris.
And who are you with?
I'm with Coldwell Banker. So my question is, in terms of valuation, when you guys actually go to list these properties, if you're dealing with compressed or negative cap rates, is this purely speculative pricing, or how are you going about this? Specifically in the retail buildings where you don't have, say, a penthouse for resale or the opportunity to develop a hospitality property like this one. Why are people buying boogies buildings when you're not going to see positive cash flow for 10 years?
That wasn't their expectation. You want to go? Or you
No,
want-
go ahead.
That wasn't their
That's all
expectation.
you.
When they bought boogies, that wasn't their expectation that they were going to, they thought they were smarter than everyone else in the market, on a better corner that they could lease for $300 a foot and probably get it. I can't remember the exact, what they had in their financial model, but, they were looking to essentially develop that to a 6.5 cap, which is definitely skinny by standards across the United States for investment development, but they were going to develop it to a 6.5 and sell it on a 4 or a 3 3/4, and everybody kind of rushed into this market all at the same time. And as I said, we're in the first quarter right now, seeing how this all plays out.
One more question. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.